Okay, I'm about to reveal 5 mistakes that you're making with your bob haircut. These are so common. Oh my gosh. All the time. I see them constantly. You're gonna wanna know these. I'm not gonna lie. These are big. Okay, if you're new to the channel, my name is Justin Hickox. I've been a hairstylist professionally since 1995, and a salon owner since 2000. And I like to teach you about hair, and hopefully at the end of the day, help you live better and look more youthful. Now, before we dive into these mistakes, I also want to say a big thank you to City Beauty for sponsoring this video. More about them in a second. And side note, you know, I've never said this, but I want to say a big thank you to sponsorships like City Beauty. It's because of these exact sponsorships that allow me to continue to create free content for you. So it's a really big deal, and I appreciate you checking them out. And just so you know, if I'm talking about it, it's because I trust it and I would recommend it. All right, with that said, let's talk about 5 bob mistakes. While some of this may seem to be opinion, and some of these mistakes kind of are opinion, but also understand that it is based on knowledge that I've acquired over my decades of doing hair. So a lot of things I'm referring to today, if you address them the way I tell you to address them, your hair will not only grow out better, it will lie better, function better, be easier to style, and accentuate more of your face shape or the things about your face shape that you want to accentuate. It's kind of the difference between having a haircut and a hairstyle. Okay, mistake number 1 is not having the right angle on your bob. Now, as I mentioned before, there's always been some form of a bob that has been in style. And actually, quite currently, there's been a bob that's this very kind of one length bob, which is very kind of parallel to the floor. So that line kind of parallels the floor. And that has been a very popular look, and it definitely can work. But as a whole, I call that a mistake. And the reason that is a mistake is because when your line of your bob follows the floor and doesn't actually follow your face structure, it has a tendency to bring your eye down the shape. So when you look at the profile, it tends to bring your eye down versus lifting your eye up. Now, anytime that we can lift the eye up, meaning that when someone looks at you, their focus is lifted up your hairstyle instead of down towards the floor, this always helps to lift the face, it helps to lift the overall feel, and everything just seems kind of fresher. Now, the reason for this is because if you look at the lines in the face, they do not parallel the floor. So when the bob shape or the bob line kind of doesn't work with that, it in essence is kind of working against that. That kind of lies the issue. The more we bring the eye down, or the more we bring someone else's focus down, the more we're kind of dragging ourselves down, and that just has a tendency to feel a little bit less youthful. Okay, mistake number 2 is having no layering in the nape whatsoever, no beveling in the nape. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the nape, and if you turn to look at the profile of the bob, the nape is right here. It's the back of your head at the very bottom. Now, the reason that I say it's important that we have some sort of beveling there is because that kind of compounds the issue from mistake number 1. If you've got all one length hair in the back, especially if that angle is parallel to the floor, it's gonna look very weighty in the back, and it's gonna draw that eye down the shape even more dramatically. Let's imagine that you did want your length to parallel the floor a little bit more, but you didn't want it to draw the eye down. You wanted to encourage a little bit more of that eye to be lifted. Well, then what you could do is this. Adding a little bit of beveling in that nape. It's going to help to draw the attention up the shape and create the illusion that there is actually a tad bit more angle on that line than there might be. Okay, mistake number 3 is having too many layers on the bottom of your hair, right around the ears to be specific. Now, the problem with this, or I guess I should say the concern with this, is that this is actually harder for you as a client to kind of manage, because this is a situation where the stylist has just overlayered your hair. But when this happens, here's how you know. You'll see that right over the ear, okay, if we look at this section of your hair right here, there's very little follicles in this area, right? There's just not a lot of space between the top of your ear and this recession line right here. There's not a lot of space for hair follicles. This space has more hair follicles, so it's a little bit denser. Behind the ear back here has more follicles, that's a little bit denser. This is just a little bit less. So when you've got a line and you layer all of this hair the same way, you're gonna end up getting this little hiccup in the bottom, this little bald spot. And it completely takes away your bob shape because it takes the line away. And realistically, a line is kind of what creates the overall bob. It is kind of the foundation of a bob. Having that overlayered, if you've ever seen that little bald spot or that little thin spot, that's what happened. It was overlayered. One of the most important things that I've learned this year from her is that we need to take care of her skin because it keeps us looking good and youthful and alive and all the things.
I don't know about you, but when I hit like 45, all of a sudden I felt like everything went, ugh.
Yeah, like the day she turned 45, she said she felt like that.
Like, what?
And 45 is still so young.
It is.
So we wanted to share a couple of the products that we've been using that we're big fans of. Well, you can actually see that she is currently wearing City Beauty lips right here. City lips.
City lips.
As you can see, her lips are plumped and glossy and all the things. If you've been around the channel for a while, you may have seen me at one point actually use this, and I won't do it again.
I've been trying to get him to do it, but
no. You know why though? You know why? Because it works. It legitimately. So the technical way it works is hyaluronic acid microspheres actually attach straight to your lips and encourage this little bit of plumpness, which also not only is great for your lips, it's moisturizing, so it also helps to keep your lips moisturized, which is important. But then when it plumps it also helps to kind of hide those wrinkles. So they just look good.
I actually have this in my purse. It's my go-to because I can't live without something on my lips.
Another one of Deanna's favorite products is the Ultra Firming Dry Oil, and that is really good for
décolleté.
That's the word I was looking for. Décolleté.
It's so fancy.
It is. It is. So this is another thing that deeply hydrates your skin, but it also helps to kind of take care of the crepiness and.
Remember how you used to do this in the mirror? I'm like.
Tight, constantly.
It's the crepiness. And so putting like 5 or 6 drops, just rubbing it, and then I rub it on my neck, my chest. It's great. And I noticed that it really makes it look smoother as well. And I'm starting to like my chest again.
One of my favorite products actually that I use all the time.
It's almost gone.
It's the multi-action sculpting cream. I was never a person that took care of my skin.
No.
But this is one of my favorites. I like the way it makes my skin feel. It actually does moisturize it. But more importantly, I don't feel greasy. We're fans of a lot of City Beauty stuff. These are some of our favorites, so we wanted to share them with you. Well, actually, a lot of you have already told us how much you love them since we started talking about them. Comment below if you've got a favorite one. I want to know what your favorite one is. And if you've never tried them, definitely go ahead and check them out. There's a link in the description where you can find out all about them. And on September 5th and 6th, if you use the code Justin, they'll actually save you 30%. On top of that, if your order is over $50, you get free US shipping, and they have a 60-day money-back guarantee. So really, you can't go wrong. Try it for 60 days.
Yeah.
100% you're gonna like it. Mistake number 4 is having the front length just not quite the right length. Now, this is very much gonna be different for each person, but that's kind of the whole point of this. It's really easy to look at a bob shape in a magazine and say, oh my gosh, this looks super cute. I want this bob. If your stylist isn't a stylist that is willing or confident enough to tell you, hey, that's a great idea, but we need to modify it by doing X, Y, and Z to make it work better for you, then they're just gonna put that haircut on you. And if that length in the front is not the right length for your face shape, this could be a really big problem. This could be the difference between you liking it or you absolutely hating it. Now, what is the kind of rule of thumb for this? But if you look in the mirror and you feel like my face is a little bit too full, then what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna leave that bob length in the front a little bit longer than your chin. Now, the longer that is, the more it's gonna draw your face out a little bit and make it look a little bit longer with it. However, to the flip side, if you feel like your face is long, then you're gonna wanna get that bob length sitting right about at your chin. So if you simply follow that rule of thumb, if you wanna elongate your face, you keep the length a little bit longer, and if you wanna make more fullness in your face, you take it up towards the chin, you should be pretty well off. Okay, mistake number 5. Now, this one I might get a little bit of kickback on. I'm just gonna say it, we're just gonna work through this, but mistake number 5 is adding too much bend at the very bottom. So let me kind of explain myself on this. There has been a bob that has been in style through basically every generation that we've even known hairstyling. So here's what went out of style a while back and hasn't come back in and has a tendency to add a bit of age to the bob shape. That's too much bend at the very bottom. Now, there's a couple of reasons that this is actually kind of a problem to me, or I would say a mistake. Partly it is because it has a very kind of aged look. Now, that is opinion, and again, if you feel that I'm completely wrong on that opinion, then you definitely should do whatever makes you feel best. But follow me also on this part of it. When you add that much bend to the bottom, it's really hard to get that same kind of bend through the midshaft and the roots. And that means that the midshaft is going to look a little bit flatter. It's probably going to lay a little bit flatter. So it's harder to get real overall volume out of the shape and good movement. It's just going to end up looking kind of flat on the sides and then a bunch of bend at the very bottom. Now, the other issue with this is more often than not, at typical bob lengths running at about the neckline, right? So up off of the shoulders, if you add a bunch of curl to the bottom, it's also gonna bring that length up. So it becomes harder and harder to get that illusion of extra length, and it's adding a little bit of fullness at the very bottom, which is adding a little bit more fullness right around the jawline. So if you've got an extremely long face and you feel like it's way too thin, then something like that can work, but I would still argue that there are far better ways to create that illusion of fullness in your face that look a lot more current and would shape a lot better for you. They would accentuate things about your face shape better, and they just all over seem more youthful and fun for you. Do you agree with me, or do you think I'm totally off base? And I also want to say a big thank you again to City Beauty for sponsoring this video. Make sure you go ahead and check them out in the link below. And don't forget, like I said before, any order over $50 and you get free shipping in the US, so that's huge. And they have a 60-day money-back guarantee, so definitely check them out. We have been huge fans, and I always appreciate their support. Oh, by the way, did you like this set? Does it cool? I mean, you're a fan? It looks good? This is what's behind me, right here. It tricked me almost a little bit, but yeah, so. Oh, and by the way, I'm not even dressed up. I'm wearing like workout pants. So we'll see you later.